Well, hi diddly ho there, everybody. We're going to do a little something different today. We're going to talk about sled maintenance and when and what you should do. I'm not going to rip on anybody specific. I am just going to go over some certain things that probably should be known to the people who don't know. Certain things that I believe that if you're doing something already that you should pay attention to and take care of. So proper maintenance, you should be greasing your sled regularly, at least following your manufacturer's recommendation. But say you only ride your sled maybe 100 miles every winter, and you don't grease it every winter because you only went 100 miles, right? But then you park it over the summer, and it sits, and the grease sits in there, and it dries out, and then you ride it the next winter. And then you're riding it on old grease that's starting to dry out, and it's not got the same properties that it would if it was newer grease. And then you continue to ride, and continue to ride, and continue to ride, year after year, and you only get maybe 1,000 miles on your sled over 10 years. Now, 1,000 miles may not seem like a lot, like maybe in a car, but on a snowmobile, it is. There's certain things like maybe your spindles, where your skis attach to the snowmobile and where they pivot. Things such as your drive shaft bearings, your muffler bearings. No, I'm just kidding. That last one was a joke. Don't take it seriously. But you should find all of your grease fittings and grease everything appropriately and grease it every year at a minimum. So then another thing would be, so when do you replace certain items? Say I'm into my chain case. I got a guy that I'm talking to right now. He's into his chain case because he's having issues in there. If you have your chain case pulled apart, you might as well, while you're in there, replace your drive shaft bearings, because you're going to have to pull the chain case apart to replace them anyways. That way you know that they're fresh. You know that they're freshly greased, and you know that you're going to get a good amount of miles out of them. And that way, 100 miles down the road, you're not having your drive shaft bearings fail, leaving you stranded in the middle of a field, on the side of a road. Maybe you're out on the trail and you decided to go out and ride alone, and now your drive shaft bearing failed. It's getting late, there's nobody else on the trail, and you're sitting on the side of the trail, 6, 7, 8, 9, midnight, 5 a.m. You sit out all night and freeze when the drive shaft bearings are relatively cheap. Whether they're bad or not, you might as well just get in there and change them because you're already there. It's really not a hard process. I mean, at least on the older sleds. I haven't worked on a newer sled yet, so I really don't know about anything that has to do with those, but I imagine it's about the same process. My suggestion would be to replace them. If you have to tear the chain case apart for anything and you're already there, you might as well replace it. I don't remember how much my bearings were, but I remember they were inexpensive. And my failure happened in my driveway when I was going for a test ride, and it was only like 100 feet away from my garage. Now, had I been out riding on the side of a road in a ditch somewhere, and it could have been worse. Then my snowmobile would have been stuck in a ditch, or it could have been deep in the woods, or it could have been anywhere, depending on where you ride. So it would be a good idea to replace those things when you're already in there to take care of it at that point in time. I do have a video on spindles, the part where the ski attaches to the snowmobile. The spindle is the tall shaft that sticks up and goes through the arm on the snowmobile. I don't know if they're all set up the same or not, but I know that the older ones are. I could not, for the life of me, turn the handlebars on my old Ski-Doo. It was brutal. It was such a workout just trying to turn the skis. And I tried greasing them, and that didn't help. So then I decided to knock them apart. And then I realized when I took them apart that they looked like they hadn't been greased in years. And the grease that was in there had gotten so dry and sticky, it was just like a paste. It was a very thick paste, and it was very hard to get cleaned off. Once I got the spindles cleaned off really good, cleaned out the inside of the receiving hole, I don't know what exactly you would call that. But once I got that cleared out and cleaned up, I put fresh grease in there, and it turned so easy, and it's been good ever since. Now, I have not taken my own advice, and I haven't greased the Ski-Doo in a couple of years, but it's been parked for a couple of years. So before I take it out, if I was going to take it on a long journey, I would have to go through everything, grease it up, make sure it was good. But I feel like these are maintenance things that are relatively regularly overlooked, that could be very fatal things if something happens. Now, say your steering's getting really tight and you're out on the trail or whatever, and you're having a hard time steering, and then you come up to a quick turn and you can't turn quick enough and you hit a tree. That would be a problem. Or your drive shaft bearing fails while you're driving on the trail at a high rate of speed, and the track locks up on you. And then as that track locks up, you go over the handlebars into a tree or into a river, or any number of situations could happen. So really cheap parts to fix and like even just the spindles are really easy to clean. I think I used a wire brush or a wire wheel on a drill. I used that to polish it up really good. I took a cloth and I wiped it up and I made sure it wasn't all scarred up. And I stuck her back in her and filled it full of grease. And it's actually done really good since then. So I probably should apply some more grease to it so it doesn't sit there and harden like it did before. But I'm not going to bore you with a 20-minute video of you looking at absolutely nothing, just listening to my beautiful voice. So I'm going to kind of cut it here. Just want to leave it open for discussion and everything of what people think in the comments. Things that you believe should be looked at every season or a couple times a season or whatever that could be a safety issue that could cause you to break down and potentially die if you're not prepared. I mean, I myself, I carry what I would need to stay overnight on the trail. So if I were to break down, I know that I can start fire. If I were to get stuck, I have a shovel that goes right in my backpack. Maybe I'll go over everything that I have in my bag to help people out. I have it's a cooking service that it breaks down to a flat little, it goes in a little like envelope type thing that's made out of fabric. It's kind of cool. It's something that I can put into my backpack. I can carry it with me. I've got a hatchet. I've got a saw, a fire starter. I got some like those glow sticks just in case. And I have other things in there too, and I'm actually still trying to build it up. I've got a cup coming today that I can cook stuff in. That way you can keep like a can of soup. Just lightweight things that you can keep in your book bag. That way if you were to fail on the trail, that you could survive a night or a couple nights. I have a Arctic sleeping bag that you can vacuum seal into a bag, and it actually sucks it down into a smaller form, so it takes up less space. I have a camping hammock that goes between trees that can get you up off the ground. It's really quick and easy to set up. Just the basic necessities. Things like a tourniquet, a basic first aid kit. Little things that are lightweight that are very important could save a life. So maybe we'll do a teardown of what I have in my bag and things that I plan to put in my bag. That way, when you're out trail riding, I take my bag with me even if I go out into the front field or if I go anywhere around here. Because I could be half a mile away from home and be stuck in the snow, or half a mile away from home and get into a weird position where I'm stuck up against a tree. I would use the saw to cut any limbs away or whatever, like a small tree. I wouldn't want to use a hatchet up against my sled or anything, because if I miss and I hit my sled, that would not be good. So just a small, really sharp, foldable saw that fits in there. I think I will actually do a video of that. So I'm going to cut this off here, and then maybe that's something I'll do today, and then I'll upload that here in the next couple of days or whatever, just to kind of throw out some more footage. I'm trying to think of good content that's not necessarily riding that could be useful to people. It doesn't always have to be entertaining, it just needs to be useful. So comment what you think, things that you would like me to go over, or whatever you think should be a video about, and then we can have a discussion. So until next time, keep it classy, stay warm, and enjoy them trails.